In this video, I'd like to go over the rearranging formulae questions on Maths Watch. So for question one, we want to make G the subject, and that basically means we want to get the equation into the form G equals. So what I'm going to do first is subtract 2 from both sides. My aim there is to get 3G on its own. So when I've done that, on the left-hand side of my equation, I now have x minus 2. On the right-hand side, I now have 3g, because obviously 3g plus 2, take away 2, is just 3g. So I now have, and I can write this as 3g is equal to x minus 2. But 3g, I can remember, is 3 times g. So to get g on its own, we need to do the opposite of timesing by 3 on both sides, which is dividing by 3. So on the left-hand side, I now have g. On the right-hand side, I have x minus 2 all over 3. And that would be my answer. So, to show you how you'd put that into the Maths Watch, we're going to have, here we go. Let me just show you how we'd put it in. So we'd put x minus 2 over 3. So the way you could put that in on Maths Watch would be bracket x minus 2 slash 3, like that. Oh, sorry, that should be, that's really embarrassing. That should be x minus 2 over 3. There we go. Sorry. And then it gives you out. The second one, we want to make d the subject. So again, I want to get d over 3 on its own first. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So on the left-hand side, I've got h minus 2. Oh, sugar. Left-hand side, I've got h minus 2. On the right-hand side, I've just got d over 3 now, because I've taken away 2 from both sides. I'm then going to multiply both sides by 3, because that will leave me with d. Because obviously, if I times d over 3 by 3, the 3's cancel out. And if I times one side by 3, I've got to times the other side by 3. So I end up with d is equal to 3 times h minus 2, which I can just leave as 3 bracket h minus 2. For the next question, I want to get b on its own. So I need to remember that the opposite of square root is squaring. Okay, so I have root b plus 6 equals a. I've just written the left-hand side on the left. I've just swapped the left and right-hand side, which I'm allowed to do. I'm then going to square both sides, which on the left-hand side will undo my square root, leaving me with b plus 6. And on the right-hand side will just leave me with a squared. I want b to be the subject, so I'm now going to subtract 6 from both sides, which will leave me with b is equal to a squared minus 6. And to put that onto Maths Watch, so that was question 3, to put that in, I would simply say b equals a, and then to do squared, let me see if I can show you the on-screen keyboard, because there's a really easy way of doing this. Maybe on a phone it's a bit harder, Morgan, I suppose, actually. So on a phone, I think I would just do a, click on the plus, click on the X to the N button, click 2, space, and then minus 6, see if it accepts that. Happy. Okay, for the next one, I want to get g on its own. So what I'm going to do is get root g on its own first, right? Get root g on own first. So to do that, I'm going to actually add root g to both sides. Now that might seem a bit strange, but I'm doing that so I can basically get root g on its own eventually. So I'm going to add root g to both sides first. So that on the left-hand side, I now have w plus root g is equal to 7, because minus root anything plus root of the same thing is naught. So what I'm going to do now is subtract w from both sides so that I have root g is equal to 7 minus w. And then my last step is to remember that the opposite of square rooting is squaring. So I'm going to square both sides. So root g squared is going to be 7 minus w all squared. Root g squared is g, so I have g is 7 minus w all squared. For the next question, I want to make a the subject of the formula. So what I'm going to do, again, opposite of square root, square. I'm going to square both sides. So I have r squared is root a over 3 all squared, which is r squared is just a over 3. Opposite of dividing by 3 is multiplying by 3. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3, which will just give me a is equal to 3 times r squared, which is just 3r squared. For the next question, we have x's on both sides. So the first thing I'm going to do is expand my bracket. So I've got 6x plus a is equal to 5x plus 5t. Then I want to get all x's on one side. So I'm going to get all my x's on the left-hand side. So to do that, first of all, I want to get rid of that 5x. So I want to take 5x from both sides, which on the left-hand side will just give me 6x take away 5x, which is 1x, or x, plus a is equal to 5t. Then to get x on its own, I can simply subtract a from both sides. So I have x equal to 5t minus a. To make w the subject of the formula, again, I want to get all the w's on one side. So now I want to take my w's over to the side which has more w's. So that's going to be the right-hand side, because 2 is certainly more than minus a. So don't worry too much about that, but I'm just going to take my AW over by adding AW to both sides. So that on the left-hand side, I've got y, and on the right-hand side, I've got 2w plus AW minus 1. Now, what I can do then is add 1 to both sides, so that on the left-hand side, I have things that are not w, and on the right-hand side, I just have things in terms of w. So I've got 2w plus aw. Now, I'm just going to swap my left and right-hand sides, just because it's just a bit neater to write. So I've got 2w plus aw is y plus 1. And then on the left, pay attention to what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take out a factor of w. This is something which we haven't really done in a while, but hopefully it'll ring a bell from year 9 or something. Take out a factor of w. And the whole point of that is to get w on its own. So what I'm going to do is say I've got w, bracket. Well, w times 2 is 2w, so I'm going to have a 2, plus a, because w times a is aw. And that equals y plus 1. So I have essentially got w times 2 plus a in a bracket is y plus 1. To get w on its own, I'm going to divide both sides by 2 plus a. So that on the left-hand side, my 2 plus a's cancel, leaving me with w is equal to y plus 1 over 2 plus a. And to just show you how I put that in on MathsWatch, go to question 7, I would say I've got bracket y plus 1 slash or over 2 plus a. And don't submit your answer until you're happy with the form that the MathsWatch has put it in as, sorry. Right, I'm happy with that. That's done. So that basically concludes the rearranging formulae questions on the MathsWatch assignment.